Micah has been nothing but a straight-up superstar throughout his career. In his 4 seasons, he's made the Pro Bowl every year. He was All-Pro first team his first 2 seasons in the league. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was All-Pro second team in 2023. And then 2021, 2022, and 2023, he was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting all 3 of those seasons. The dude's been a dog, forcing fumbles. Of course, sacks is a high number for a guy who plays multiple positions and is not just a pure edge rusher. He'll line up in the middle linebacker. He'll line up outside linebacker, in the middle, in the A gap or B gap, and then also line up outside of the tackles. Last season, he was hurt, missed 4 games at one point in the season, but still ended up with 12 sacks and 23 quarterback hits. Micah, you can switch the trade request now, has requested a trade. They've been in a huge contract dispute. He's currently, they picked up his 5th-year option, and he's due $24 million this year. But he is literally the last guy of note from his draft class that has not got paid. Everyone's gotten paid from his draft class, and everyone's gotten paid handsomely. Think of Penei Sewell. He's gotten paid very well. Jalen Waddle even has gotten paid. Devontae Smith, who was in that draft class, has gotten paid. And Micah still sits here as arguably, and really kind of inarguably, unless you want to argue who's better between Micah Parsons and Jamar Chase.
Give me a sec. I'm going to fix the camera. I don't know what just happened.
Can I continue talking?
Yeah, keep talking. The audio's still going.
Yeah, Micah is more than likely the best player from that draft class outside of Jamar Chase, and he hasn't gotten paid for whatever reason, and that now he has requested a trade, and Jerry Jones is saying that it's kind of just a negotiation tactic. Jackie, got thoughts on Micah?
Yeah, I mean, phenomenal player. Has done nothing, like you said, but amaze since joining the league. It's kind of crazy it's gotten to this point because this is the kind of player you don't let it get to this point with a player of his caliber. Especially talking about, you mentioned Jerry Jones is calling this a negotiation tactic. Doesn't really feel like that to me. It feels like it's got a little bit out of hand for the Cowboys. They're not really in control of the process. / they've mishandled it a lot. So they're really on the back foot, which is why I truly think this is a trade that could end up happening. But yeah, I mean, it'd be nuts.
It
for him
seems
to be
out of these 2 trade requests from the NFC East that it feels like Micah is the most likely to happen, which is it's pure insanity to trade a piece like this. The comparison that's been made is the Khalil Mack trade, and Khalil Mack at that time was a year older than Micah, but Khalil may have put up similar numbers, nowhere near the same level of impact on the football field and the same level of impact on a team, specifically in Oakland at the time. And he was traded to Chicago. They traded 2 firsts, a 6th, and a 3rd. They ended up giving a 2nd back to Khalil Mack. To kind of recap what that trade was, Bears got Khalil Mack, Cole Kmet, and an offensive tackle who never played for him. The Raiders got Josh Jacobs, Damon Arnett, and then they traded that 6th-round pick, and then they got Brian Edwards, a receiver. So, in large part, the Bears won that trade because Chicago made the playoffs a few years, and Josh Jacobs never really became anything for Oakland outside of just being a consistent back. And then Damon Arnett was a miss. The Raiders do that, though. Yeah. They miss on first-round draft picks a lot. Cleveland Farrell is another name that comes to mind in that conversation. So the Chicago ended up winning that trade. So it feels like maybe you're in a similar spot for if you're trading for Micah Parsons. And Micah would go for a very similar bargain. My first one I'd throw up there is actually throw up the next team odds. Jack, where do you feel Micah should go, and where do you think he will go right now? And then we can kind of get into some trade comps.
Sure. Where do I think he should go is kind of what I did with my mock, actually. So I don't know if you want to go and pull up that graphic.
Yeah, I can.
Because I think this is a team that if they traded for him, I could see them kind of making that leap and find themselves in Super Bowl contention. I trust their offense enough. He's someone. Rashawn Gary has kind of emerged as a pass rusher there, but they could use another weapon. And it kind of a thing of like, it doesn't really matter who else you have as a pass rusher because Micah Parsons is that good. You're not going to like turn him
he's
down.
top 3. Like you're never gonna.
Yes, but that being said, they don't have someone anywhere near that caliber, and also you can move him around. So I think the fit is good. The Packers have the assets. They have the cap space this year. It gets a little thin down the line.
Yeah, next year is a huge issue. They only have $2 million in cap space next year.
But they
so
have a lot of way they could clear money, and it's something the Packers like to do is move on from guys.
Mhm.
So not the best money fit, but they could make it work. I believe in that. And he's someone I just would love to see there as someone that has kind of been a passive Packers fan throughout the years because of Aaron Rodgers, even though he's no longer there. It's kind of continued a little bit. But, yeah, I'd like to see him there. I don't think it's going to happen because the Packers don't make splash moves like this, really. They're more conservative, build from within.
Yeah.
Maybe give out some free agency deals, but they're not the splashy trade type of team. So that's what I would like to happen. That's not really what I expect to happen, though.
Realistically, the Cowboys are only going to trade him to the AFC.
Sure.
In my eyes, there's no
For sure.
because of his age and his impact on a team. They would be pure stupidity to trade him in division, which people
No
are calling for.
way.
People
They-
are calling
yeah.
for the Eagles and
There's
even the
zero
Commanders.
chance that happens.
But if you trade him in NFC, like you would have to deal with him down the road. This is not like a trade where, in Oakland's case, they were offloading Khalil Mack so that they could be bad and get better draft picks and then rebuild. The Cowboys, with the money they have in Dak Prescott, there is zero reason to rebuild, and so they're going to try to be competitive. And if they're going to try to be competitive wherever Micah Parsons is, that team is also going to be competitive. You don't want to meet Micah Parsons in the playoffs unless you're playing in a Super Bowl. So realistically, I feel like Micah is really only in a spot where he ends up on an AFC team.
For sure.
For me, if you had to pick a team that I want, I would love to see him in New England. And the trade comp there would be Micah would go for 2 first-round picks, and then he would go for 2 thirds. It's got 3 thirds up there, but you can't trade a 2027 third twice. But if for 2 thirds and 2 first, and then they give back a 4th for Micah to end up in New England, it's hard to see, but that's an AI-generated photo of what he would look like in a Patriots uniform. But Micah going to New England that would be awesome. I think it's a great move not only for this season, but for the years going forward. With Drake May being on a rookie contract, like the thing that kind of doesn't work out for the Packers is the fact that Jordan Love has already been extended.
Sure.
And so that's why your cap space gets so thin because he's a $50 million quarterback. Drake May's under his rookie contract for 3 years and then the 5th-year option. That's 4 years of Micah Parsons, and you could extend him very easily and give him the money that he wants. And the Patriots have all the cap space in the world for that going forward, and not only this year as well. I know my brother would love that as a Patriots guy. Sanders, I guess the second one would be your team. And
Yep.
talk to me what Micah Parsons as a Charger would feel like. How would that make you feel?
I think that'd be pretty electric. You get to pair him with a guy we were just talking about, Khalil Mack, and then kind of make up for the loss in the offseason of Joey Bosa, who just hasn't been the same over the past couple of years, and he's been dealing with injuries. But I think that'd be really a great move by the Chargers, especially because since Justin Herbert was drafted, Herbert was drafted in 2020, there's been this weird thing of they've either got a good offense or a good defense. And it's the offense was good for the first couple of years with Herbert when he had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and putting up 5,000 yards passing and stuff like that, but the defense was just atrocious. And now last year they had a good defense, and the only weapon Herbert had to work with was McConkey. And so I think that they just need to hit a spot where they're good on both sides of the ball, and then they could really make some noise. And I think that getting Parsons in there to pair with Khalil Mack would be a huge step to maintaining a good defense.
And they've offloaded a ton of their contracts, like the expensive ones that would have been still kind of impacting them. Keenan Allen, Joey Bosa come to mind.
Sure.
So they have a ton of cap space, especially next year. They have $80 million, so they could give Micah whatever money he wanted, which would be in the ballpark of $42-43 million. Does that feel like you're giving up too much for Micah Parsons?
2
first,
a second
and a third. It's more than the Patriots won because Chargers more than likely are going to be better than New England, and so
Right.
for me, I think you got to give up more capital
Because
because
they're
those
lower.
first-round picks won't be as good as the Patriots picks.
Yeah, upper 20 or mid 20s as opposed to
Yeah,
like upper
in the
teens.
teens, yeah.
I'm also curious with this too. I know we talked a lot about Jim Harbaugh's philosophies last show. If he'd be the kind of guy that'd be willing to give up all these picks that he could like bring in guys and make them his guys and develop them to go make this splashy move. I just don't exactly know if he'd be the person to like really go for that. As much as he would love someone like Micah Parsons, he's kind of a more
Yeah.
defensive guy. But I just don't know if he'd be willing to like go make this move now.
I agree. We can touch on that. Sanders, is this too much?
I don't think so, just because Parsons is that good. Because you have to think, like, the way I think about it is if you drafted 4 guys with 2 firsts, and like we just said, they'd be higher in the first or lower in the first round, so lower first round picks or a second or a third, what are your chances of finding a guy like Micah Parsons? And they're pretty much 0. There's maybe 2 guys in the NFL right now that you would put on his level. And those guys were drafted like first overall, Myles Garrett. TJ Watt was, a bit of a slide, but he's been elite. So it's just, I really don't think that's too much to give up.
Yeah, I will say I agree with you, Jack. I don't think they'd do that because of the way that they can really build a team here, with the ability to like build on these draft picks of like Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, and defensively they could use a ton of additions, especially draft picks. And Jim Harbaugh picking guys that he wants, I think, is something you have to trust him in a ton. But Micah in Los Angeles would be very interesting, especially with Justin Herbert in division, or not Justin Herbert, but Patrick Mahomes in division. I think that would be something they would
Be
value.
fun battles for sure. And he almost is the type of player where you like buck trends for, right? Like
sure.
if Harbaugh was, or the Chargers were going to go make a move kind of out of the ordinary for them, he's kind of someone you go make, that move for. Similar with people that have kind of crunches on cap. He's almost someone that you like go trade for, and it's like he's so good, we'll figure it out later. We'll figure out how to make it work around him. As long as it's feasibly possible, we'll make something happen.
Yeah, Eric Mangini talks about it a ton. He's often a guest on First Things First. He's a former GM. Trades like this, you have to give up not only capital, but you also give up your other resource, money, because you have to extend Micah more than likely if you're going to trade for him. It's different to the Scary Terry, which we'll get into, where that one you trade for Scary Terry more than likely for a 1-year rental. Not a lot of guys. I don't think a lot of teams are going to extend him if they trade for him, which of course would piss him off. But that's the business. In the Micah case, you got to give up your future resources in draft picks and money, and so that's a huge hold on your team and your ability to build a team in the future. So you've got to value or decide if Micah meets that value for you. Speaking of Mahomes and getting to Mahomes, I think the other 2 teams that would be very interesting would be Buffalo and Baltimore, and we'll start with Buffalo. Buffalo would have to then give up, I think, even more value than the Chargers won. So I have them giving up 2 firsts and 2 seconds and getting back 2 later round picks. Buffalo would make a lot of sense, especially with that kind of being the issue for them. I don't have the graphic ready for it, but I can tell you in their playoff losses the last 5 years, their defense is giving up on average 33 points a game. And so that is a big reason why we don't put a lot of flack on Josh Allen for his play in the postseason, because he's been good. It's been the defense that's really been the problem for them. And so putting Micah in Buffalo would be a sight to see. That'd be very interesting. And I don't think Josh Allen would mind it either. Cap space would be kind of tough to manage. They don't have the cap space even this year for him. But if they can manage and move that around, Micah in Buffalo would be something. Is Micah in Buffalo enough to get over Kansas City?
It's like in theory, yes. But kind of similar to how we talked about picking someone besides the Chiefs to win the division. It's like some conventional logic kind of comes or goes out the door when it comes to getting past Kansas City. It would be a great step, and I think it could be enough, / it should be enough, but it's like it's Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
You just never know.
I feel like there have been a lot of. Not
I
a
would
lot
say
of
the
moves.
Bills have a better team at that point than Kansas City if they make that move. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I feel like the Bills at least once or twice in the past 4 years have been in positions where we thought that they had done what it was needed, and then every year they see Mahomes in the playoffs, and we find out they didn't. So it's a weird answer of yes, I think that would be enough, but I don't know if yes, on paper it would be enough, but then the reality is they've had enough on paper before and it hasn't worked yet.
Sure.
So that would be my response there.
That we can move on to the other one then. Baltimore. Baltimore, I would have giving up the exact same capital, except they get a 5th-round pick, 2 fifths instead of a 6th and a 5th. That's Micah in Madden, which was a video posted by them in a Ravens uniform.
The
Micah
Madden posted it or the Ravens? did?
Madden posted
Okay.
it. Micah in Baltimore would be interesting. The thing I kind of push back on this being a possibility is I don't know if they necessarily need that. Their issue has been in the postseason has been they just don't play to the level they need to, and specifically offensively, they have not been good enough in the postseason to get over the humps of Buffalo and Kansas City. And then Lamar being healthy has been an issue getting into the postseason. Think of the Tyler Huntley Cincinnati game. So I don't know if Micah really moves the needle for them. And I also don't think they want to give up draft picks. I think Harbaugh is in that same kind of boat. And you can think of the picks that they've gotten in years past. Kyle Hamilton was a later pick in the first round. They nailed that. Malachi Starks, I think they're really high on this year. Their defensive tackle, I don't remember how to pronounce his name because it's stupid tough to pronounce. But
Matabike, though.
Matabike, yes. Zay Flowers has been good for them, while, of course, he hasn't been as good as they would like. But I don't think it makes a ton of sense for Micah to end up in Baltimore. And I don't think it necessarily moves the needle because, I mean, they were an elite team from a sack perspective last season with Kyle Van Noy as their leading sacker with teen number of sacks. So I don't think Micah in Baltimore makes a ton of sense. There's another team on there, the Raiders and the Browns and the Jets, and I think Cardinals is one that's really high on the team on the odds list for whatever reason at 700. But right now it seems like the Cowboys have no intention of trading Micah Parsons, and they've said that outright. But I don't. It feels like their hand's gonna be forced here at some point.
I agree.
Sanders, what would you put the percentage at Micah as a Cowboy? And then, if he is a Cowboy, what is the percent chance he plays Week 1 in Philadelphia?
If he's a Cowboy, it's 100%, right? Why would he not?
Yeah, but if he still doesn't have a contract, then
I see what you're saying. No, he would I see. So if he is a Cowboy, but they haven't extended him, I don't think he'll play. I also don't think he's going to be a Cowboy. I think Jerry Jones is very stubborn. I think he's going to stubborn himself right out of one of the best edge rushers in the NFL.
He basically already has.
This is true. I mean, every step Jerry Jones has taken has felt like he doesn't understand how good Micah Parsons is.
He's been on a clinic on how not to extend a franchise player.
And so it's just like I have a lot of faith in Jerry Jones, and by that I mean I have faith in the fact that he is going to screw this up. So I've got my money on Micah Parsons not being a Cowboy.
Sure.
And I don't know where he will be, but it's not going to be with the Cowboys, I don't think.
I agree. I do think it'll maybe take longer to trade him than you think because Jerry Jones is so stubborn, and in his eyes, he's not trading him. So it may take him a while to come around to the fact that he's stubborn on not paying him and he's stubborn on not trading him. And I think he's going to give on not trading him first, but I think it's going to take him a while to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of hope he is traded.
It'd be so funny,
It'd
man.
be so funny. Be interesting for the NFL. It'd be interesting for whatever team gets him.
I'm going to get a quote from Andrew McBride to read on the show, and I forgot because he's our resident Cowboys fan, and it just brings them misery, and it's so good.
I mean, this is insane. What has already transpired. It's a layup. I don't understand not giving him the money. And then with how long they've waited, he has now been forced into paying Micah even more. with a contract extension for Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt, and Micah wants to be the highest paid player in the NFL, that number has just continued to go up. So if you were going to pay him, why the hell didn't you pay him a long time ago? They could have paid him even last season, but they decided not to. But him going anywhere, I think the Chargers would be really interesting. While we don't expect them to do that because of their philosophy, that would be really interesting to see. I mean, Sanders would love that, of course.
Sure.
I'd assume. Patriots would be really interesting. I think that's the one that makes a ton of sense to me because it's not only a win now move, but it's also a long-term move as well. And with the amount of cap space they have and Drake May being on a rookie contract, that seems like a layup if you're able to pull that off, even with giving up capital. Because at this point with Vrabel and Drake May, I think they expect to be in the postseason this year. A lot of people expect them to have a winning record. And adding Micah Parsons almost kind of locks that in and gives you a really, really good chance to be able to do that. And then for years going forward, you don't necessarily need the draft picks as much as you may think. I mean, pull up the Khalil Mack trade again.
Yeah.
The Bears won this trade, and that is not because Khalil Mack was outstanding for him while he was led the league in sacks 1 or 2 of the years he was there in Chicago. It was really because hitting on draft picks is not guaranteed, and even
Unless
with
you're the Eagles.
Well, yes, I mean a lot of that is just the player kind of falls in their lap.
Right.
But in the Raiders' case, like Josh Jacobs was really good for them, but he never necessarily led them to the postseason. Damon Arnett was a complete miss, and you have draft picks like that all the time.
Jonathan Abrams did not pan out, didn't get a second contract
exactly. Jalen Reagor is another one that comes to mind where he was in that ballpark if he just never produced for them. And so trading away and receiving picks, it feels great, and it's like, oh, those picks could be really good, but I think only in in the NBA,
it's the perfect place to take it. Yeah.
It's perfect place to take a bunch of picks because what if you could get a pick in the lottery and then you get Cooper Flagg?
Sure,
that can happen to you. But I think in the NFL, it's not necessarily a home run, which that just brings on a whole another conversation of, with all the preparation and talk you do in the draft, and then every single pick, everyone's like, "Oh, I love this guy. I love this guy. I love this guy." So I don't know. I think I would trade for him. I want New Orleans to trade for him, but we don't have the cap space for that whatsoever, unless we do some limbo again through the cap. But that would be really interesting to see. In Dallas, they already have the next Micah Parsons, Donovan Ezeraku.
Sure,
he kind of has that build. We'll see if he can perform that way, but maybe Jerry sees it that way, that they already have a Micah Parsons in-house.
Sure.
With Ezeraku, with his explosiveness.
I doubt Jerry Jones
I need him
knows
to release
who.
a quote about that. That would be funny if he said, if Jerry Jones, when Parsons leaves.
That sounds like a Centel quote, but it also is something he maybe would say.
I think
That's
Jerry
100%
could.
possible.
And then it'd be great because then when Ezeraku is just an average edge rusher, everyone can be like, look what we could have had.
I'm not positive he knows who Donovan Ezeraku is. You just never know with Jerry, man.
That's true.
Before we move on, I do want to ask. So all three of us had the Cowboys in the postseason.
I didn't.
Okay? I apologize then.
What did you have? Did you have them winning double-digit games?
No,
Yeah.
I had them at 8 or 9 or 9 and 8.
I think he had him at 9. Anyway, we were all decently high on the regardless of what we were on the Cowboys. How does this change y'all's opinion of the season if he's not on the team?
Well, if he's not on the team, they have zero chance of having even a winning record in my eyes. And so him not being there is huge. Not just to bring up Ezeraku again, but that impacts the rest of their defensive players because Micah on the field is a top tier Jamar Chase on the offensive end. You have to go find where is Micah Parsons because he is a game wrecker, and he's someone he plays in a ton of different positions. That's the first guy you find. People always talked about Aaron Donald, where it's find 99. Where is he? But Aaron Donald only lines up on the line of scrimmage. Micah can
Pretty
be anywhere.
easy to find.
And his short stature, he can kind of hide under the offensive lineman. He wasn't the tallest defensive tackle. But Micah, he's a guy you have to find every single play. And even if you send 2 or 3 guys at him, he still makes tons of plays, and he makes everyone around him better. If he's not playing for Dallas, they have no chance of having a winning record this year.
For sure.
I think I'd drop them to probably 8 and 9. I think I'd flip it and give them a 7 and 10 prediction instead of a 10 and 7. But yeah, I was just curious on that because it's completely game changing.
Yeah, because
to their defense to not have him.
With Parsons on the field, he's there getting pressure to the quarterback, and then quarterbacks are making bad decisions, and then you've got the ball hawks at cornerback. But without him there, those same quarterbacks are going to get torn to shreds because it's what they already do.
Sure.
With Parsons, I would probably. I mean, it'd be single digit wins for sure.
I mean, yeah. I mean, their offense would still be very good. So, like, I think their passing attack could carry them to some wins still, but not as many.